So you use Git, but you really don't know how it works. Let me help you out. I'm going to start a little mini series here going over a bunch of stuff about Git. So if you'd like to learn more about it or just see how the underlyings of it works, give me a follow. I'm going to start with the very basic stuff, and we're going to kind of go along in the order, I guess, that makes the most sense to learn. So there's probably going to be videos that you may already understand, but the hope is that I can go over the basic things and maybe dive a little bit deeper so that you actually understand how Git works and what's going on. All right, first one's going to be Git Config. It's a simple one, but it is a culprit for causing some relative basic issues that you can sometimes come across. Biggest thing to remember with Git Config is that you have a Git config file in your local repository, your global for your global system or your global account, and then you have your system for all of your users. So you need to remember that there's 3 different sections that you can possibly have configs for. Now, all the settings for your Git config is stored in files, right? So you have a Git config file in your local repository. You have a config file for your global, which is your account. So for your account has a file with all your config settings. And then your system has a file for all of your users that utilize Git. All right, now here's how the files are generally broken out. Now, something you need to keep in mind is that these settings, right? So you have your local, you have your global, and then you have your system settings, right? Each configured for Git. Now, the priority goes from local to global to system, right? So any settings that you have in your local that overlap your global or your system, it's going to prioritize the settings you have in your local environment first. And then if not, it adds the global settings, and then if not, it adds the system settings. So remember that. Local is the highest priority for your Git settings, and then it's global, and then it's system. So sometimes when people run into issues regarding their settings or stuff's messed up in their commits and whatnot, it might be because your Git settings or your config in your local might be overriding stuff in your global, or you might have stuff in your global and system settings that you didn't realize that are there. Now, if you want to update any of your settings, this is the command that you're going to be giving, right? So you have git config, and then that tac global, you can specify. You can do either local, but make sure you're in your local, your repo, right? Global, and then system, right? And then what you have is, remember, those sections with the curly brackets or the square brackets, that's going to be your first one for that section, then your default branch for your name for this example, right? So you have your key and then space and then your value of what you're trying to set it to. If you're trying to update things, you can also do your tac